There are moments in life when a child must become a parent, when innocence meets darkness and makes a choice. This is the story of how one small voice shattered a carefully constructed lie, and how truth, spoken by the youngest among us, saved everything that mattered. In a grand ballroom filled with roses and candlelight, a 9-year-old boy stood before 300 witnesses. His hands trembled, his heart raced, but his voice, when it finally came, cut through the silence like a blade through silk. The woman in white, beautiful and poised, had spent months weaving her web. She had chosen her prey carefully, a grieving widower, wealthy and vulnerable, desperate for companionship after years of crushing loneliness. But she had miscalculated one thing. She had underestimated the love between a father and son, the bond forged in shared grief, strengthened through years of mutual survival. That miscalculation would cost her everything. This is not a tale of revenge. It is a story about vigilance, about trusting the small voice inside that whispers warnings when something feels wrong. It's about the courage required to speak truth when everyone around you has chosen comfortable fiction. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Young Liam Miller learned responsibility too early. At 4 years old, he watched cancer steal his mother away, inch by agonizing inch. He was too young to understand death, but old enough to feel its weight settle over their home, like winter fog. His father, Ethan, crumbled under the loss. For months, he moved through their house like a ghost, forgetting to eat, forgetting Liam existed. The boy watched his father cry in the shower, saw him stare at photographs until dawn broke through the windows. So Liam grew up fast. He learned to set alarms, pack his own lunches, forge signatures on permission slips. He became the caretaker, the one who remembered birthdays and doctor appointments. He protected his father from his own grief, becoming the anchor when everything else felt unmoored. 5 years passed this way. Father and son, navigating loss together, learning to function in a world that felt permanently tilted. The house remained full of his mother's memory, her recipes, her photographs, her favorite chair by the window where she'd read stories to Liam before bed. Then Vanessa appeared. She arrived at Ethan's architecture firm as a consultant, sophisticated and charming. She asked intelligent questions, made him laugh, seemed genuinely interested in his work. Within weeks, she had woven herself into their lives. Ethan, starving for connection, fell completely. He couldn't see what Liam saw. The coldness in her eyes when she thought no one was watching. The calculated nature of every gesture, every word. Liam tried to like her. He truly did. When Vanessa brought him gifts and asked about school, he wanted to believe her interest was genuine. But something fundamental felt wrong. Her kindness had edges. Her smiles never quite reached her eyes. When Ethan left the room, her entire demeanor shifted. The warmth drained away, replaced by cold impatience. Once, when Liam spilled juice, she grabbed his wrist hard enough to bruise and hissed words that made him flinch. Then Ethan returned, and instantly she was sweet again, all concern and understanding. Liam tried telling his father, "She's different when you're not there," he said one evening. Ethan just laughed, pulled him close. "She's nervous, buddy. Give her time." But time made everything worse. Vanessa moved in, claiming temporary need, while searching for apartments. Temporary became permanent. His mother's pictures disappeared from walls, boxed away as clutter. The garden she'd tended was torn up, replaced with modern landscaping. Even her handwritten recipes vanished one morning. When Liam asked where they'd gone, Vanessa shrugged. "They were stained and old. I threw them out." That night, Liam cried himself to sleep, feeling his mother being erased piece by piece. 6 months later, Ethan proposed at an expensive restaurant. Vanessa cried perfect tears, and his father glowed with happiness that Liam hadn't seen in years. The wedding was planned for a massive estate, 300 guests, every detail meticulously arranged. Liam smiled and congratulated them, because what else could a child do? But deep inside, dread grew like a shadow. 3 days before the ceremony, everything changed. They'd moved to the estate for final preparations. Liam was searching for his tablet, checking rooms methodically. He remembered leaving it in Vanessa's private study that morning. The door stood slightly open. He approached, ready to knock, when her voice stopped him cold. Sharp, angry, nothing like her usual sweet tone. Relax, Marcus. Once I'm married, I'll transfer the money. He's wealthy. You'll get your share. Liam froze in the hallway. His heart hammered against his ribs. Who was Marcus? Vanessa had never mentioned anyone by that name. He knew eavesdropping was wrong, but something in her voice, something cruel and calculating, kept him there. No, he has no idea, Vanessa continued, her laugh bitter. By the time he realizes, it'll be too late. He'll have signed everything over. We disappear. That pathetic widower and his clingy little brat won't know what happened. The words hit like physical blows. She was talking about them, about stealing everything and vanishing. Every kind word, every smile, every declaration of love, all lies. Liam's hands began shaking. In his panic, his elbow knocked a decorative vase. The crash echoed like thunder. What was that? Vanessa's voice turned sharp with suspicion. Hold on. Liam heard footsteps. Quick, determined, coming toward the hall. Terror flooded through him. If she caught him, if she knew he'd heard. He ran. Down the corridor, through doorways, finally diving under the massive dining room table. He pressed himself against a carved leg, making himself as small as possible, holding his breath until his lungs screamed. Through the gap between chair legs, he watched her expensive heels appear. They stopped, turned, moved slowly toward the dining room. Hello. Her voice was deceptively sweet again. Is someone there? An eternity passed. Finally, she muttered something and walked away. Liam stayed hidden, counting to 600, his whole body trembling. He had to tell his father. Right now. Immediately. If you're still watching, take a second to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you powerful stories every week. Liam found Ethan reviewing seating charts with the wedding planner. His father looked happier than he'd been in years, laughing at something the planner said. That happiness made what Liam had to do even harder. Dad. He burst in, voice high and panicked. I need to talk to you. It's really important. The story tumbled out in desperate rushes. The overheard phone call, the threats, the plans to steal everything. But as Liam spoke, he watched his father's expression shift from concern to disappointment. Liam slowed down. Ethan said, kneeling, "What are you talking about?" When Liam finished, Ethan sighed. "Sweetheart, I think you misunderstood something. Vanessa has been under enormous stress with wedding planning. People say things they don't mean when they're overwhelmed. This Marcus could be anyone, her accountant, a vendor." "Dad, please listen. Enough." The firmness in Ethan's voice was new, harsh. "Vanessa is going to be your stepmother in 3 days. You need to accept that. Go to your room." The dismissal hit like a slap. Liam had never heard that tone from his father. Tears blurred his vision as he ran from the room. In the hallway, he nearly collided with Vanessa. Their eyes met for one terrible second. She smiled cold, victorious, triumphant, the smile of someone who'd already won. Then it vanished, replaced by false concern. "Liam, sweetie, are you all right?" But Liam kept running, locking himself in his room, collapsing on his bed in sobs. His father didn't believe him. No adult would believe a child over a sophisticated woman with perfect manners and expensive clothes, unless he found proof. Real, undeniable evidence. That night, Liam lay fully dressed, watching the clock's red numbers change. He waited until 11:30, when the massive house finally settled into silence. His plan was dangerous. If caught, there'd be no explaining it away. But his father's future, their future, hung in the balance. Vanessa's suite was locked, as expected. Liam remembered seeing the housekeeper's master key ring hanging in the kitchen pantry. The journey through the dark house felt endless. Every shadow seemed alive. Every creak made him freeze. He found the keys, wrapped them in his shirt to muffle their jingling, and returned to Vanessa's door. It took 6 attempts before finding the right key. The lock clicked. The door opened. Inside, everything was meticulously organized. Perfect. Controlled. Liam searched systematically. desk drawers full of wedding documents, dresser containing clothes and jewelry. Nothing suspicious. Then he saw the suitcase tucked behind hanging dresses in the closet. Why would she have luggage packed 2 days before her wedding? Unless she was planning to leave. Inside, beneath neatly folded expensive clothes, his fingers found a metal lockbox. His hand shook as he tried different keys. Finally, click. What lay inside turned his blood to ice. Photographs of Vanessa with a man Liam had never seen. Kissing, embracing, looking at each other with genuine affection. One photo's back read in her handwriting, Marcus, Cancun last month. But last month, she'd claimed to be visiting a sick aunt in Boston. She'd sent photos, texts about hospital visits. All fabricated. There was more. Multiple passports with her photograph, but different names. Driver's licenses from various states, all showing her face with different identities. Bank statements showing massive transfers from accounts labeled with his father's initials. And at the bottom, a legal document that made Liam's stomach turn. Power of attorney and asset transfer agreement. It would give Vanessa complete control over everything his father owned. The document was dated for 2 days after the wedding. Attached was a handwritten note. Have him sign this at reception. Tell him it's standard postnuptial paperwork. He won't read it. This was real. All of it. Vanessa had planned everything meticulously. She would marry his father, trick him into signing away his entire fortune, then disappear with this Marcus person. Liam pulled out his tablet with trembling hands and photographed everything. Every document, every fake ID, every incriminating piece of evidence. He had to be careful, quiet. One mistake and footsteps in the hallway. Coming closer. Liam's breath stopped. Keys jingled outside the door. She was coming in. Panic exploded through him. He shoved everything back into the lockbox, locked it, returned it to the suitcase, pushed it into the closet. The light flicked on. Liam dove behind the armchair in the corner, pressing himself into shadows, making himself invisible. Vanessa entered, talking on her phone, her voice cold and harsh. I told you not to call this late, Marcus. He might hear. From his hiding spot, Liam watched her pace, her beautiful face twisted with contempt. Yes, I have the papers ready. He'll sign them thinking they're standard post-wedding documents. His lawyer won't see them until we're gone. She laughed, a sound devoid of warmth or humanity. Of course I feel nothing for him. He's a means to an end. A lonely, desperate man with a dead wife and too much money. Easiest target I've ever played. She paused, listening. By Monday, we'll be on a beach somewhere tropical, and Ethan Miller will be $50 million poorer. The kid will probably end up in foster care, but that's not my concern. The casual cruelty in her voice made Liam bite his lip until he tasted blood. This was who she truly was. Not the sweet, patient woman his father had fallen for, but a predator who viewed them as prey. When she finally left, Liam counted to 500 before moving. His whole body ached from maintaining absolute stillness. He had evidence now. Photographic proof. A confession he'd witnessed with his own ears. But would be enough? His father hadn't believed words. Would he believe pictures? Liam needed adult help. Someone his father trusted. Someone who knew how to handle situations like this. The answer came immediately. Aunt Grace. Grace had been his mother's closest friend. They'd been inseparable since college, bridesmaids at each other's weddings. When his mother got sick, Grace had been there for every treatment, every hospital visit, every terrible moment. She'd held his mother's hand when speaking became impossible and sobbed at the funeral like she'd lost family. More importantly, Grace was a police detective with 10 years of experience. If anyone would know what to do, she would. At 1 a.m, Liam video called her. She answered quickly, concern immediate on her face. Liam, honey, what's wrong? The entire story poured out. The overheard conversation, his father's disbelief, the evidence he'd found. He showed her every photograph he'd taken. Grace's expression grew increasingly serious as she examined each image. Liam, she said quietly when he finished, this is extremely serious. Your father is in real danger. I know, but he won't listen to me. I believe you, Grace said firmly. Everything you've shown me, the fake identities, the transfer documents, The photographs with this Marcus person. This is a classic con. Your father is being targeted by professional criminals. Hearing an adult confirm his fears brought both relief and renewed terror. What do I do? The wedding is today. Grace thought carefully. Send me all those photos. Every single one. Second, don't confront Vanessa. Don't let her know you have this information. Can you act normal? Liam nodded, though his hand shook. Good. I'm coming to that wedding. Your dad invited me weeks ago. I'll bring backup. We're going to stop this. She paused. During the ceremony, when the priest asks if anyone objects, do you think you could speak up? It might be our best chance to stop everything before papers get signed. The thought terrified him, standing before hundreds of people, accusing Vanessa publicly. But then he thought about his father signing those documents, about being left alone with nothing. I'll do it, he whispered. That's my brave boy, Grace said, pride and sadness mixing in her voice. Your mother would be so proud. After hanging up, Liam clutched his tablet like a lifeline. He still had to get through the next day. Had to act normal. Had to be brave, just a little longer. The wedding day arrived in chaos. People running everywhere, shouting instructions, arranging flowers. Liam dressed in a small suit, his tablet hidden in the inside pocket with all the evidence. When Vanessa saw him, she knelt gracefully, adjusting his bow tie. Don't you look handsome? She said sweetly. But up close, Liam saw coldness in her eyes. Calculation. She suspected something. Maybe not exactly what, but she knew he was a problem. At 3 o'clock, the ceremony began. The ballroom had been transformed into something from a dream. Thousands of roses, crystal chandeliers, throwing rainbow light across everything. 300 guests dressed elegantly. Liam walked down the aisle first, carrying the ring pillow. His legs felt unsteady, but he forced himself forward. Near the back, he spotted Aunt Grace, wearing sunglasses indoors. Beside her sat a serious-looking man, also in sunglasses, Detective Martinez, the backup Grace had promised. She gave Liam the tiniest nod of encouragement. Then the wedding march began. Vanessa appeared, breathtaking in ivory lace, her veil delicate and perfect. She walked slowly down the aisle, looking like every bride's dream. Guests whispered about her beauty. Some dabbed tears. None of them knew they were watching a predator approach her prey. The priest began the ceremony, his voice warm and rich, talking about trust, love, honesty. The irony made Liam want to laugh or cry or scream. Then the moment came. If anyone here has any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, the priest said, smiling at the crowd. Speak now or forever hold your peace. This was always just formality. No one ever actually objected. Except today. Liam stood up. His voice, small but clear, cut through the silence. I do. I object. 300 heads turned. 300 pairs of eyes fixed on a 9-year-old boy in a suit that suddenly felt too tight. The silence was absolute. Liam. His father's face cycled through confusion, embarrassment, anger. What are you doing? Dad, please listen. Liam's voice shook but held steady. She's lying to you. Vanessa isn't who she says she is. She's planning to steal everything and leave. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The priest looked shocked. Vanessa's face went pale behind her veil. Liam, enough. Ethan's voice was sharp with humiliation. This isn't the time. She's working with someone named Marcus. They're going to take all your money and disappear. I have proof. Liam pulled out the folder. I found her fake IDs, pictures with Marcus, the papers she wants you to sign. Where did you get that? Vanessa's sweet voice vanished, replaced by something sharp and dangerous. You little brat. That's private. He's not lying. Aunt Grace stood up from the back row, removing her sunglasses. Detective Martinez beside her pulled out his badge. Grace. Ethan looked completely lost. What's going on? Grace walked down the aisle, her expression professional and serious. Ethan, Liam came to me with very serious allegations. Detective Martinez and I spent the night investigating. I'm afraid your son is telling the truth. She addressed the entire room. The woman you know as Vanessa Reed is actually Victoria Reese. She's wanted in 3 states for fraud and identity theft. She targets wealthy widowers. The crowd erupted. Vanessa tried maintaining composure, but her hands shook. This is absurd. Grace, you've always been jealous. Then you won't mind if we examine the lockbox in your suitcase, Detective Martinez said, his badge clearly visible. Vanessa went completely white. Ethan took the folder from Liam with trembling hands. Liam watched his father's face as he opened it, saw the photographs, the fake IDs, the bank statements, the legal document that would have stolen everything. What is this? Ethan whispered, his world crumbling. It's the truth, Dad, Liam said quietly, tears running down his face. I tried to tell you. I'm sorry. Ethan's lawyer pushed forward, examined the documents, his expression darkening. Ethan, if you'd signed this, you would have lost everything. Your company, your accounts, your properties, everything. Reality crashed down. Ethan looked at Vanessa, truly saw her for the first time. Who are you? The mask finally shattered. Fine. You want the truth. Vanessa ripped off her veil. You're pathetic, Ethan. A lonely fool who was so easy to manipulate. You and your clingy brat son. The crowd gasped at the transformation. I've been planning this for months. Marcus and I would have been living off your money by Monday while you figured out what happened. That's enough. Detective Martinez pulled out handcuffs. Victoria Reese, you're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and attempted grand larceny. As they led her away in handcuffs, still screaming threats and protests, Ethan collapsed beside Liam, pulling his son into a desperate embrace. You saved me, he whispered, voice breaking. Oh God, Liam, you saved everything. The guests began applauding, not for a wedding, but for a child's courage, for love strong enough to speak truth when silence would have been easier. Weeks later, life found new rhythm. Victoria Reese and Marcus Davidson faced decades in prison. Ethan had started therapy, both for himself and Liam. He'd cut his work hours, put his mother's pictures back up, replanted her garden. Most importantly, he listened now. Really listened. One evening, cleaning his closet, Liam found an envelope in his mother's handwriting. To my darling Liam, open when you're ready to be brave. Inside was a letter written weeks before she died. She wrote about trusting his heart, about his good instincts, about how he'd need to be strong for his father, but shouldn't carry burdens alone. Always be honest, always be brave, and always trust your heart. She'd written, I will love you forever, across time and space and everything in between. Reading it together, father and son cried, feeling her presence wrap around them. That's exactly what saved us, Liam whispered, trusting my heart. For months after the almost wedding, Detective Martinez called with news. Victoria and Marcus had escaped during a prison transfer, but were recaptured in Florida, attempting the same con on another victim. This time, they'd face 20 to 30 years minimum. That night, Liam dreamed of his mother standing in a field of white flowers, smiling. You did it, little knight, she said. You saved your daddy. You were so brave. Their family wasn't perfect, still broken in places, still healing. But they were together. They were safe. They were learning to be happy again. And somehow, Liam knew that his mother, wherever she was smiling. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments what part spoke to you the most. And if you thought this one was powerful, wait till you hear the next story we're working on. Remember, always trust your heart. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the most important truths.